Hello everyone, this is Erik Bryant and the Erik Bryant Show. This is episode number 12. Coming to you for the first time in a while with episode 11 and now coming with episode 12. Got my two co-hosts here with me. I'm going to do what we did in episode 11 and talk a little bit about wrestling, some of the older news that has happened a week or two ago, but I have not had a chance to speak on and talk about it and everything. Vince McMahon is said to be toning down Michael Cole's character as of late. That is why during the 1000th episode of Raw, why Michael Cole did not talk about or make fun of Jim Ross, because they wanted it to be more of a positive show and things like that. Michael Cole, you know, in the past, had talked a lot about JR, made fun of him, talked a lot about the King, made fun of him, but for the 1000th episode of Raw, they toned him down, and not just the 1000th episode, but during over the course of a few weeks, they're trying to make Michael Cole not so anti-heel anymore. He still makes comments here and there, but for the most part, they try to tone him down to make him, you know, a little bit not fan-friendly, because I doubt he'll ever be that again. But they don't want him to be as hated, I guess, as before. The WWE officials said they were impressed with Billy Gunn and his look on the 1000th episode of Raw. They said he could receive a televised match down the line. In contrast, X-Pac was completely out of shape and probably won't appear on TV again anytime soon, if at all. To me, even though I know X-Pac was a part of DX, I don't know why X-Pac was on the camera to begin with. As I said, I'm trying to catch up, so I'm going to talk about Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, get my thoughts on that, and Impact shows. This was Raw from, I believe it was about 3 weeks ago. The show started with a segment. You guys need to stop pulling each other's hair. Look at the little one pulling the big one's hair. You got a lot of hair, buddy. He's going to pull it. It started with the segment, the CM Punk, Jerry Lawler segment, which turned into Punk, Lawler, Big Show, Cena, and AJ all coming out. AJ basically making the main event, Big Show and Cena for later on that night. Punk sat on the announce table in front of Lawler and told Lawler that he was wrong at the end of a 1000th episode of Raw, saying that Punk turned his back on the WWE Universe. As he said, since when it was The Rock, the WWE Universe, which I totally agree. But I agree with most of what Punk says anyway. He had Santino and Del Rio. You gonna sing for us? Which was a squash match with Del Rio winning. The Brodus Clay, Vicky Guerrero, Damian Sandow segment that started with Clay and Vicky doing a little dance-off, and Sandow coming out and ultimately attacking Brodus, which I like because I don't like the Brodus Clay gimmick at all. And I kind of like Damian Sandow. I think those guys could put on a feud. It could help both men. It actually put Brodus Clay into something. You want to get in? Come on, get in. And so that Brodus Clay and Sandow as kind of the start of what will be a feud for both men. Then they had a segment, Daniel Bryan and AJ, which would set up the next match of the night between Daniel Bryan and Sheamus, which was a pretty good fight. As always, was interactive, so the WWE got to pick what kind of match it was. I don't really remember, but I think they picked a street fight. But all three of the choices kind of seemed to be the same. It was like a street fight, falls count anywhere, and no holds barred. It was something like that. I don't have a problem with the whole interactive stuff, but WWE is the world's worst when they do the interactive, because it's clearly fixed, because they don't really let you decide. It says, okay, Dolph Ziggler's going to wrestle. If it was really letting you decide, it'd say, who do you want to see Dolph Ziggler fight? Not who do you want Ziggler to fight between Punk, Bryan, and Zack Ryder? Or, you know, giving them 3 choices, as my son just hit the floor, giving you 3 choices. Let us pick a guy. The reason why they don't do that is because they don't really know who the WWE Universe will pick, and then they'll have to, on the fly, make the match results or make kind of like maybe a new storyline or mix a storyline on the fly, and they don't, I guess, want to do that. They don't feel they can, or they don't want to take the time or whatever. After the Daniel Bryan Sheamus match, the guys in the white coats came to try to take Daniel Bryan away because he said he was crazy. The whole Kofi, R-Truth, Daniel Bryan, AJ segment, where the funniest part of the night, Daniel Bryan actually kicking R-Truth's imaginary friend Little Jimmy out of the ring. R-Truth frantically running down to check on Little Jimmy. The guys in the white coats actually stopped to take R-Truth away, and AJ said, no, not him. That's the guy in the ring, your man, Daniel Bryan. That led to a Titus O'Neil-Kofi Kingston match, which was an alright match. It was basically put on to have Kofi and R-Truth further their feud with the primetime players. Titus O'Neil, if I remember correctly, like I said, it was 3 weeks ago, I believe Titus won that match. Punk and Cena then had a segment, and I don't really remember what it was, to be honest with you, because it was, like I said, 3 weeks ago. Heath Slater and Randy Orton. Randy Orton returned that night. Heath Slater came out, and Orton had said that Slater was talking about being a legend killer, or trying to take out legends and things, and Orton the original legend killer, so he came out to make his return, which really wasn't impressive to me. It was basically a squash match, him getting over Heath Slater. Christian and Jericho, and which was probably the match of the night, teamed up to face Miz and Dolph Ziggler. Christian and Jericho, I believe, if I remember correctly again, that Christian and Jericho won that match. That was to keep the whole Christian-Miz Intercontinental title thing going, as well as the Jericho-Ziggler feud leading up to SummerSlam. Tenzai wrestled Tyson Kidd. I believe that was the week where Tenzai just beat all over Tyson Kidd, beat him, and then continued the beating after the bell, and they reversed the decision. Tyson Kidd got the win instead of Tenzai. And then Big Show and Cena ended with Big Show and Cena actually was a match to determine the #1 contendership. CM Punk was out on commentary, and Punk actually got involved in the match, made it a no contest, got the mic and said the winner is nobody. So he said, I guess I have the night off for SummerSlam, but of course AJ came out. She made the match for SummerSlam a triple threat between Punk, Cena, and Show. That, I believe that was episode 2001 of Raw. Not really that great to me. I didn't really, care for that episode of Raw. And my son looks like he's trying to break his neck. As go on to that week's SmackDown episode, you had Miz leading off talking about becoming the Intercontinental Champion, which Christian comes out. He wanted his rematch then. They had a match, good little 10 to 15 minute match, which Miz won and kept the title. Then you had Jinder Mahal and Ryback. It was a good way actually to start off the show with a match between Miz and Christian. Ryback and Mahal. Jinder Mahal ran out on the match, so Ryback won by count out. Sheamus and Daniel Bryan had a segment backstage. As Daniel Bryan said he was going to win the Fatal 4-Way, because the main event Fatal 4-Way match to determine who the #1 contender was for Sheamus' title. Sheamus then wrestled Cody Rhodes, as Sheamus wins that match. Not a very bad match, but not a great match. Dolph Ziggler was around, hinting with the fact that he might try to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, but he did not, in fact, do that. Then you had the aftermath of the whole thing. Ziggler and Sheamus. Ziggler was going to do that. He backed out of the ring. Then Y2J came out in a pink Dolph Ziggler shirt and actually threw Ziggler into the ring as Sheamus hit the Brogue Kick on Ziggler with the assist of Jericho, bringing him back into the ring. Then you had a match between Santino and Antonio Cesaro, a non-title match which Antonio won. I thought that was good to kind of build him up, even though a non-title match gave him a victory over the U.S. champ, even though Santino, to me, really not much of a United States champion, didn't really defend the title, and when he wrestled guys in non-title matches, he would either get squashed, or if not squashed, he'd still lose the match. I don't really like that, because they've been doing that lately with the Intercontinental title as well as the U.S. title, letting the champions get beat in non-title matches, like they did with Christian. He lost non-title matches, Santino did it, and even now, since The Miz is the Intercontinental champion, he hasn't really defended the title. I think just that, the rematch with Christian on this episode of SmackDown, and then at SummerSlam, and that is it. And then when he had non-title matches, either tag matches or one-on-one matches, he lost the non-title matches. I just don't like how it doesn't build guys up at all when you do that. I don't understand it. Damian Sandow, just building him in a squash match, he defeated Yoshitatsu. And then the main event was a pretty good wrestled match, because you got 4 guys who aren't that bad in the ring. Rey Mysterio, Kane, Daniel Bryan, and Alberto Del Rio. Del Rio won, and he got the #1 contender spot against Sheamus. And Del Rio is one of those guys WWE's high on. He does have his fans, but Del Rio's just one of those guys since from day one I have just haven't really been able to get behind him, because really doesn't like his style of wrestling at all. And I mean, that's just my personal preference. I just don't dig the style of Del Rio. Sergeant Slaughter, that was the end of that SmackDown. Sergeant Slaughter said that he was originally to be casted in the new G.I. Joe movie instead of Bruce Willis, but I guess you look at the name value, Robert Remus, Sergeant Slaughter, or Bruce Willis, Hollywood went ahead and said, we'll go with Bruce. But it would have been cool to see Slaughter in there somewhere, since, you know, in the 80s or whatever, he was like the original G.I. Joe. He was the guy who they molded the G.I. Joe series of cartoons, things like that after. So it might have been nice to see Slaughter make a cameo in there somewhere. The current storyline in TNA is for Joey Ryan to end up having a match with Al Snow. Of course, Joey Ryan, the guy who was the gut check contestant that was voted no by Taz to not get a TNA gut check contract. At first, the feud was with Joey Ryan and Taz, but because of Taz's bad neck, his multiple surgeries and injuries, him having to retire from wrestling, he said that he would not be able to and never would get back into the ring stop. And so they're going to switch that up and make it an Al Snow Joey Ryan thing to have a match off of it, probably at their big pay-per-view, Bound for Glory. The WWE signed a female wrestler named Anya. She is known as the Russian Bruiser. She's a big girl. You should look her up on YouTube. Very impressive, a big girl, not Awesome Kong big, but nonetheless impressive. Kamala said that the donations to charity that the charity ran by Rescue ran by Dawn Marie were fake. Dawn Marie said that she sent him money and he refused it. Kamala came back and said they sent him a check after he complained about it, about not getting help and everything. And so both guys Kamala and Dawn Marie going back and forth. Brian Heffron, a former wrestler known better by Blue Meanie, got into it as well and said that Kamala not the only one who spoke up about Dawn Marie's charity being fake. Dawn Marie has taken other wrestlers and other people to the cleaners before, so Kamala probably telling the truth there. But we'll be back in a little while with part 2.